Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Beau DeMayo's penis. Oh yeah. Full display on Eric's Letters Twitter. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Oh, wait, I have to turn up my speakers so they can hear the little bells going off. There we go. Always forget to do that. I was having an issue. Oh, by the way, before we get started, I want to welcome Darren and Paige to the stream, of course. Paige can't stay for a while, so we're going to do a couple of edgy topics first.
Oh, God.
I didn't suggest these edgy topics. Eric was on it.
He specifically asked for these first. So.
Yeah. Now we know.
Look, okay, of course. That's the very first thing we're going to talk about because I have something to say about it. So, okay, so the weird thing was we went on Thursday night. We went out of town. I don't think I mentioned this on Sunday when we were doing the Thunderbolts video, but I need to buy new speakers for my computer because my cat, one of the cats, I have two of them, decided while we were gone on Thursday to chew through the wires on my speakers, probably punishing us for being out of town for like 5 hours. So now I have to buy speakers and I need to get them before all these tariffs kick in, or I'm going to get Paige to send it to me. I'll buy it in Australia and have Paige pack it up and then mail it to me personally. So that way I don't have to pay a tariff price on it.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Interesting strategy.
We are going to read the Kevin Feige thingy. That's like one of the topics tonight. Whoa, that was loud. These old speakers, I'm not used to them. They're not great, but they're awfully loud. Okay, so we're going to do the Kevin Feige thing. These are all the topics for tonight. I'm trying to remember all of them. So we're going to talk about Beau DeMayo first. That's one of the topics we had on there. The other one is we're going to talk about the Thunderbolts name change. That's not a big topic, but I want to talk about it and what people think about it. The Kevin Feige interview. We'll talk about that one. And we're going to talk about, surprisingly, and Paige won't be here for this because it'll probably be one of the last topics, Trump's tariffs on Hollywood.
Trump.
I know Paige loves to like basically try to trigger me. So
did you see the funny thing where like Trump was like, because it was like the guy, because the Australian election was on the past week,
which that guy lost. You said he was going to lose. He did lose.
Oh, he was going to lose. Yeah, it was. As I say, it looks like fucking Voldemort. Like it was never going to win. Like,
he even talks like this. I was like, is he just trying to copy?
He's so yeah. Like one thing with a politician, you have to have some sort of likability factor to at least a group of people. No one liked him.
But we got that, and then we're going to talk about. There's a slight update to the JK stuff with the comments made by some of the cast and crew. we'll talk about that briefly. The big thing we're going to talk about tonight, though, is the Kevin Feige interview, because I want to read as much of that as we can, because I know Darren's wanted to talk about it as well. So we're going to get through that.
I thought Darren was really keen on the Beau DeMayo stuff as well.
I mean, that's my second choice.
Oh, that was
okay. Sorry, okay. I got it mixed up.
Only if he's shirtless, though.
Well, I mean, get ready, I guess. Anyway, we have some super chats over here. Let's get these super chats out of the way before we do the first topic. You guys are already kicking it off. We are 3 out of 10 already, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much. 4 out of 10 now. All right. Silhouette Animator with the $5 super chat. Will never happen because it's too niche, but wouldn't it be awesome if the Exiles showed up in a Doomsday as the gifted team from the show's final scene?
I've seen that theory. Yeah, that's fun.
I think one of the biggest losses we had, I think the show could have actually gotten better after season 2, because season 1 was really good, was The Gifted. I really liked the first season. Paige, did you watch that show at all? The Gifted show?
I think I might have watched like the first few episodes. I definitely didn't get into season 2.
Season 2, it kind of went a little weird, but the first season, as just one season, I thought was really good. It wasn't like a 1-for-1 comic book thing, but I enjoyed it.
And that season 2 cliffhanger too was such an insane. It's so like one of the more insane cliffhangers I've seen for a show.
Yeah, I would love for them to do something with The Gifted. But matter of fact, I loved a lot of the actors in that show.
Just recast them in the MCU. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you for the super chat. South Texas Shark says, did you hear GTA 6 got delayed until May 2026? I didn't hear that, but the reality is I see people online who are happy and excited for this game, and other people are like, I'm just good playing the GTA 5. Just give me GTA 5 with mods and I'm good. I've seen mods of that game into like superhero games, like Superman and Flash and stuff, all modded on top of GTA 5.
Did you see
that? I've seen it.
Well, did you see the people on Twitter that were so like out of the loop? They're like, "Oh, this comes out this month."
What? GTA 6?
Because they thought it was 2026.
Oh,
didn't realize it was 2025. I'm like, I'm going to be playing this in a couple of weeks.
Jeez. Naruto here with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Naruto. Squid Game season 3 trailer came out today. I want to watch it, but I think Netflix is bad about flagging trailers, so we'll see. We'll try and get to it towards the end. I'm still waiting for like some more advertising for Ironheart, so hopefully we'll see that soon.
Yeah.
You might be waiting for a while.
Well, we talked about it on Sunday. I know you missed it, but a lot of people are curious about the show, but they aren't doing a good job of. I have a distinct feeling that Disney wants to dump that show, like not get rid of it, because obviously it's attached to Ryan Coogler's production company and stuff like that. But I don't think they have a lot of faith in that series. If
Disney insists on putting that much money into their TV shows, they need to do a better job at marketing them to a larger audience, because they did the same thing with like Daredevil. They put that out 1 month before the show came out, and it's just like, it did okay, right? But it probably didn't do the numbers it probably should have done for a Daredevil revival. And I think Ironheart, it might do the worst out of the MCU show so far, unfortunately.
But again, how do you gauge, unless a show gets the same level of promotion for each show, how do you gauge whether or not that affected people tuning in? You know what I mean? It's hard to determine that. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, also I think like the MCU, like, unfortunately, I feel like most of the people, unless it's like a Daredevil or like an Agatha, most of the people that would be watching Ironheart knows already when it's coming out and knows, like, all the details about it preemptively, so they might not want to market it as much, because it's like those are for like the super fans who watch literally everything or keeping track of it and stuff like that.
Fair enough. Silhouette Animator with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. I think the MC Mutants will be unexpectedly different. I don't know what you mean by that, unless you're talking about like the lineup of characters that we get, which I'm okay with that. But I would like, in a perfect world where I am Kevin Feige and I get to choose what we put out, I would probably start with just that 1975 sort of reboot, that lineup, because it's already diverse. It's full of characters from all around the world. I love that idea. Silhouette says, not comic accurate as fans will expect, I think. Yeah, that's what I figured you meant. I would start up with that lineup because no shade to the original 5, but that comic book got canceled. Like that series got canceled. The X-Men became extremely popular after that sort of reinvigorated version of the team. So I would love for them to use those characters as they did in the comics throughout different teams and bring them back into the X-Men fold. But I would honestly start with like the 1975 reboot team personally.
I guarantee it, or I can't guarantee it, but I've been saying for years I think they're probably going to do, and it will piss people off. They're going to have that original lineup, except for Jubilee, and they'll replace it with Miss Marvel.
The lineup from the 90s, the one from the well, they could piggyback off of the success of X-Men 97, honestly. But you're right, Ms. Marvel could totally fill in. But I think people like I didn't realize this. Maybe I've been out of the loop, but there's a lot of fans of Jubilee that would be so mad if she gets like pulled
100%.
Because Jubilee basically replaced Kitty Pryde in the X-Men 97 series.
Yeah.
But the difference is that going into that series, Jubilee had a fan base already that associated her with the X-Men. Whereas Ms. Marvel is more connected with the Young Avengers and that side of Marvel. So, but you're not, I don't think you're wrong. They could totally roll her into that group and just go that way. But
I think marketing wise, it would make sense to want to have someone that the audience kind of already knows.
Yeah.
And kind of put her in there, because why make her a mutant if you're not going to actually play around
But do you
that
think
world?
the Marvels hurts her credibility with the MCU?
I mean, I don't think so, because I think like the number one thing everyone was saying, like even if you didn't like that movie, is that they liked her. Like, I think she was like the shining light that even like the like bigots are like, yeah, she's okay.
Well, I mean, honestly, that they talk more shit about her family than they do her, is what I've seen online.
Yeah.
Cameron with a $5 super chat. Eric, have you seen Matt Fraction or George Jimenez's new Batman comic run with the Batman suit redesign from a few months ago? No, but I like the redesign. Are you talking about? Wait, which one is their redesign? Is this the one with like the big muscular? Is this the absolute Batman? Or is this like the actual main Batman? Hold on. Oh no, this is the one I like. Okay, yeah. So this is like the main continuity Batman. So let me show you guys here if this is the one you're talking about. This redesign. I believe this is it. Yeah, this one's dope. This is dope. I love this design. Hold on, let me open the image in new tab. This one right here. This is so good.
That's cool.
I love this design. Like, I like the one in Absolute Batman. It's weird, it's different, but I don't mind it. I think the logo's kind of ugly, but when I found out it's like an actual weapon, I was like, all right, that's fine. I love this one, and my favorite shot out of all of this here is the shot with him with the cape all the way around him. Like the one over here in this.
I thought your favorite would be the one with the ass shot. Right.
I mean, that's good too, but the cakes aren't quite as.
Yeah, I was gonna say no, and then I was gonna say you need to
the
like
cakes aren't caking, so you know.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell. It could be like a contrast sort of thing.
This gives me like Batwoman vibes from the show when she dropped down from the ceiling of the.
Of course, the Ruby Rose version, your favorite.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Ruby Rose. That was the I can't.
Ryan
what was
Wilder.
her? What was her bad name again?
Ryan Wilder.
Ryan Wilder. I couldn't remember her name. But yeah, the Ryan Wilder version. That was the cape that did that. I like this picture here. This is dope. So I'll probably check this out. I'm gonna go to the comic shop. You know what? You guys voted for me to stream from my comic visit. So next time I go, I forgot to do it this past time. So I'll probably go again. I get paid at the end of the week, so probably over the weekend. I'll probably check it out.
Just got to avoid the hentai section, unlike last time. That was a bad one.
Of course. A $2 super chat from Silhouette Animator. Legion, David Holler versus Dr. Doom, please, Feige. So the Legion show is really good too, but it's a little weird. Like, it's a little out there, I think, for what Marvel is doing. Which, to be fair, they've done some really interesting stuff, but I think that one's still on the fringes. But yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Cameron with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Ironheart is getting the Echo treatment. Well, I don't think Ironheart's getting dumped all in one shot, so that's good. I mean, it's going to be like a few weeks of airing on that one. I do think aren't they doubling up on some episodes for the release of that?
I can check. Last time I checked though, I think it's 6 weeks straight. But maybe it's a 2-episode premiere.
I'll just be happy to have something Marvel to talk about between now and Fantastic Four, which is kind of what we're going to be doing. I want to talk a little bit. I have it in my actual notes. It's not in the titles, but I want to talk about the ongoing statements about the pressure on Superman to perform well for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it's 6 weeks straight.
Okay, good. All right. This is for Paigey, I guess. And it's an Australian $2 super chat. Paigey, did you vote One Nation or Trumpet of Patriots? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Well, technically, yes, because you have to put him from your most preferential vote to your last. So I technically did vote. They just went One Nation went last, and Trumpet of Patriots went second last.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is that how it works over there? Because over here it's a completely like
it depends. It depends where you live in Australia specifically. But you'll have a certain amount of candidates that are going for your local area, and like there could be 4, or there could be 10.
Okay. It's your system is similar to Canada's system, right?
Well, yeah, Commonwealth. It's done through that system.
All right. We got this super chat, and we are 9 out of 10. We aren't even 20 minutes into the stream, and you guys have already kicked up and gonna hit the goal. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. Cody with a $5 super chat. Ms. Marvel joining the X-Men has done a lot of damage to her character. I feel like, and maybe this is a hot take, and Paige is going to be like, Eric's going to take the L on this one, even though I always take W's. Ms. Marvel went from being a character that had a very defined like background and storyline and everything to the comic books just tossing her around everywhere. And I mean, Inhuman and then Mutant, and then she's on the X-Men, and then she's retconned into the classic X-Men, and just like I feel like they've taken her success and used it incorrectly in the comics in a lot of ways. Because I think she's good. Like, she's one of the most beloved new Marvel characters. And when I say new, I mean like her and Miles and a lot of the other characters that came out after like 2009, 2010. And I just think they've mishandled her in the comics a little bit. I think she hasn't been respected as a character in the way that I want to see. Because I think they know she's successful, so she kind of gets placed into stuff to like bring attention to it sometimes. I don't know. Is that wrong, Darren? Do you like the way she's been treated in the comics, or? I
haven't read her comics, but like, it does feel a little sloppy just from an outsider's perspective. Just like seeing what's being done, like it felt like the MCU did it, so they were like, "Oh my god, now we have to do that also," and it feels like not necessarily always the way to go. Like, I understand you want to try out things before you do it in the MCU and stuff like that, but like, maybe just because didn't she die? Didn't they like kill her and then bring her back?
Oh yeah. That was one of the big things. Thank you, Silhouette Animator, for the support. Yeah, I mean, but the thing was, everybody knew she was coming back. That was the part that made it so cheap, is that they killed her off specifically to bring her back in a certain way, and everybody knew that was what was going to happen when it was announced that they were killing her off. So it just felt like editorial, like butting in and saying this has to happen with this character. And I mean, let's be honest, it happens a lot in comics. They do have, the editors come in and say that this is coming from the higher ups and you have to do these certain things. And the writers have said that. They've gone on record saying that a lot of times they do things because they're told by the editors they have to do it. But it didn't work. It felt disingenuous and stuff like that. And then they made her one of her cousins a bomber. Really?
Oof.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what's going to happen with her. I love her in the MCU, but they need to sort of course correct from what they did with her with the Marvels, and basically what they did with that whole movie and how they treated all those characters. All right, so we're going to get into one of our first topics, as Paige's, like he said, he only has like a half an hour, and we're at 20-minute mark. So I want to give him a chance to share his take on this.
Yeah.
So the other day on Beau DeMayo's Twitter, which is gone now, it's deleted.
Let's go.
It's gone.
I think that might be a good thing. I don't know if you would have been able to show it.
Probably not. So he posted now that, and
God.
this is paraphrasing because the tweet's gone. I could probably find it if I went to like a website where they've archived it, but he was basically saying it should be no surprise to everyone that he's going to be moving into adult content. Okay. And he made it seem like it should be something that we all just assumed he was going to do based on like his social media stuff. And I want to say this, I don't necessarily think it was obvious to me. Like, I knew that he posted thirst traps. Like, I got that part of it, but he was accused of being super sexual on set, which is one of the things that we were like, I hope that's not true. You know, I hope that he wasn't going around sending X-rated pictures of himself to people. But then, like, you go, oh, well, it should be no surprise that I'm going into adult entertainment. Like, why is it everything that he gets accused of, he sort of ropes back around to, even when he doesn't want us to believe that it's true?
Oh, goodness me.
I'm just being serious. Like, I'm not accusing him of anything. It's just, as someone who loved X-Men 97, and he definitely put his stamp on it, at least from what we can tell, based on what he said in interviews. And again, I have no personal problems with Beau. Like, I'm not judging him in that way. But, okay, you want to do adult content? Fine. Do adult content. But you were accused of sending stuff like that out to people, and you said it wasn't true, but then you go, it should come as no surprise to everyone that I'm going to start doing adult content. And he even said he was going to be posting it on main. He said he was going to be posting it on his main like his account and stuff. Now, keep in mind, also, he said that his OnlyFans was not adult content. It was just him sharing more thirst traps. So was that a lie too? Was there stuff on there that was not okay? Like, again, I have friends that work in the adult industry, and so I'm not judging him on that, but I'm talking about that concept that he was doing things like that on set that were inappropriate, and then making it seem like we all should just know that he was going to be doing adult content.
Agreed.
Why would we know that? Because you were accused of doing it? So he deleted the tweet. That makes it even more sus. Why did you delete the tweet after you made it?
It's one of those situations because like I can feel the commentary around it being like, well, sex work is bad, or this kind of work is bad. It's like, no, not necessarily, but you're right. Like, when there's already this vibe around him via what has happened and what he said and what he's been trying to do, it does kind of prove some of the accusations, or at least like puts it in the front view in a way that maybe isn't best for his PR.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't care at this point. Like, maybe he's like, I'm not doing Marvel again. I'm not working in the industry again. Whatever. Like, and if that's the case, if that's what his next career option is going to be, then maybe it's smart.
I found a archived text of what his tweet said. So this is exactly what it said. It had pictures of him. I sent them to Paigey that were showing some stuff. And it said, for some, my decision to move into the adult content industry will come as no surprise, but I am not giving up on screenwriting. So apparently he still wants to work in the industry. So I wonder why he deleted that.
Well,
did he delete it because he changed his mind?
My thing on is though, like, it's that I do wonder if he's like representative team, whether it's his manager or whatever it is, or even just colleagues and stuff, just went to him like, hey, if you go down this path, like, what was he writing? Like, I know at the end of the day, a lot of people watch X-Men 97, but at the end of the day, it's a children's show. Yeah. Like, it is going to be centered for children. Like, you were right around that. If he wants to go back into the field, like, I don't think he's going to be writing like Boogie Nights 2 or something like that. I highly doubt it. So he might have been told, like, hey, like, if you go down that path, it's literally a one-way road. You're not going to be able to, you can't U-turn at any point. You got to, the only way you can keep doing things is going through that road, at least in regards
why
to
does he not have a wiki? Industry. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people don't, especially if it's like people have to make it. So probably someone's
I'm
like,
looking
oh,
at the
wait,
X-Men
fuck,
97 roster here on Wikipedia. He's the only one that doesn't have a highlighted Wikipedia page, and he was the creator of X-Men 97. So I don't know.
I think maybe you can, if it's about you, you can take it off. I think maybe just because it could be like, just in case people put defamatory stuff and they don't.
Well, I mean, there's probably a lot of actors that deal with that, but I mean, I still feel like he should have like one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, surprise intro.
Yeah, I reloaded the page and it started playing. I don't know. What are our final thoughts on this? Because I want to move on from this, but I just thought it was worth mentioning that I want to be supportive because I feel like if he was mistreated for being gay or whatever, I want to support him in that. But every time he posts something that feels like it's confessing to a crime, it's like I just don't. It's like the Ray Fisher stuff all over again for me.
Yeah.
Ray Fisher updates, Beau DeMayo updates.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that Ray Fisher's moved on. There's
who knows? There might
more
be.
to come.
Can we get a hypothetical reaction to a Ray Fisher OnlyFans?
Let's not do that. I'd prefer not to do that.
But the thing is, it's just like with that type of stuff, and the thing is that I don't know how many like men, whether it's gay or straight, have been in that situation. But like I brought up that example of like the Cobra Kai actress who was doing OnlyFans while on Cobra Kai.
Right.
I can't remember the actress's name. Someone in the chat might know. She was. I don't know if she was a regular or not. I just know she was in Cobra Kai as like a love interest or something like that. But apparently her OnlyFans is like full explicit. So like what he was suggesting he was going to do. So, but I don't know how many more acting gigs she got after that. I don't know if she just went full OnlyFans. So I don't know if Beau DeMayo still has that like, I don't know, drive, if you want to put it. That
look, the reality is he's a very attractive man, right? So there's no reason why he should be like, I'm not going to do it because I don't feel confident. Like clearly he could make money on OnlyFans. Like clearly that's a possibility, So I'm not going to like, again, shame him for doing that. But it really hinges on whether or not he intends to continue to work in Hollywood. Because even if we don't want that stigma to exist, Hollywood still has that stigma around it.
Yeah, it does.
So that's kind of the problem. All right. So we got a super chat from Cameron here. $5 super chat. I heard that. Oh, by the way, that means we reached the goal. So I will create the choices here in a second for you guys. Which, by the way, I'm going to do a bonus stream again this upcoming weekend. And on that bonus stream, we will do like a bunch of the goal. It will just be like rewards for this. This is what you guys have voted on. I heard that Miles Spider-Man is becoming tokenism to the Marvel Universe, and he's also half vampire now. And Miles' comic runs are bad, like Peter. So I hear the word tokenism used a lot, and I just want to be very clear here on the difference between what an actual token is and what people have started to apply it to everything. A token is a character in a movie, a TV show, a comic book, something like that has no story. They are just there to represent a demographic. For example, if Miles was a black or mixed Spider-Man and he was in a comic as a background character and is just standing around to be a black Spider-Man with no storyline, no nothing, that is what a token is.
Yeah.
There's no way for a character to become a token when they're not one of those things. So if people are saying that, they either want to push the narrative that Miles is a token or they don't understand what a token is. And Cameron, this isn't me trying to like shame you, obviously. I mean, you might just be asking this in good faith or whatever. But I don't see, like, yes, characters can have bad comic book runs. Like Peter Parker's, there's a lot of stories from Spider-Man that have been bad over the years. But you wouldn't say that Peter is a token, right? Like he's a token character. He's just there to represent geeky people and that's all he's there for. You know what I mean? So like characters having bad comic book runs, I don't necessarily equate that to tokenization. But again, when we talk about the online discourse about stuff, words get transformed because a lot of people use them incorrectly and they just keep using them incorrectly. And then you see, like, that's how we got to where we are with woke, honestly, is from people just applying it to anything and everything. So I don't see Miles as a token, personally. That's just me. I think Miles is a much more complex character. He has his own film franchise. Like, he's the lead character in his own movie. So that's literally not a token. Like, you can't be a token and also be the lead character. That just doesn't work. I don't know. Any thoughts on this, you guys, at all? Or did I cover it all? Okay. Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate it. 3Dub's in the house. Just showing some support with the $2 super chat. Thank you, 3Dub. If I can get my Facebook to open, I will. I'll drop the link over to you. I was having issues with Facebook earlier. By the way, completely unrelated to this, there's an event that I am DJing for where people were buying tickets online, and when it got sold out, they posted on Facebook the event was sold out, and every single comment was somebody trying to sell tickets that they bought that they didn't need anymore, and it was all bots trying to scam people out of tickets. Facebook is awful. It's full of garbage now. Unless I'm talking to my family or people that I'm really close to, it's just a garbage site. It's Boomerville, and it's full of brain rot. It's just so bad.
I thought you loved your brain rot. I thought you loved your daily dose of brain rot.
I like to laugh at brain rot, but that's about it. Oh, Cameron says, I mean, Miles is getting every power known to man. I still don't think that's tokenism. That might be like, I don't know what the word for that is. It's not tokenism, but I don't know. I'll think about it and let you know. But I understand what you're saying. Hey, what's up, Tony? How you doing?
Tony.
All right, so do you have to jump off page, or do you have a minute to discuss one more thing?
Oh, we can give 5 minutes. Extra 5 minutes.
So Thunderbolts, which you didn't get a chance to talk about at all, Pagey. We talk about this and then we jump into the Kevin Feige stuff. They've been rebranding over the last couple days to the New Avengers, and it seems like every single major advertisement for it was already designed with this name underneath of the poster. Because they're going around, we're seeing Sebastian Stan and Florence Pugh and people walking around and ripping off the labels, and they're posting that on social media and everything.
So cool.
So they're rebranding it as the New Avengers. I think it's very cool. However, I've seen some people argue that this is going to hurt the film. Now, I saw a tweet here. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I bookmarked it. But I saw, well, actually more than one tweet. But I saw a few tweets where people are talking about the branding issue with this change and how it's going to hurt word of mouth. Let me see if I can find one of them at the top here. Okay, so like right here. Daniel RPK says, do you think this gimmick could help or hurt Thunderbolts? And this is the video of Sebastian Stan like ripping the label off of it on the side of the street here. And they were doing these little things around town or whatever. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this good or bad for the film moving into its second weekend?
I wish they would have waited a bit longer, personally. I understand why they're not, because I do think it's a smart marketing gimmick. I think the thing you need to do in this new film industry is I think you need to create a narrative. I think any successful movie is about a narrative. Mm-hmm. Sinners was about this like underdog story and stuff like that, right? So I think this will get people talking. People are going to hear that there's an Avengers movie in cinemas, and they're going to be like, holy shit.
Do you think this should have been the original branding for the movie before it came out? So you like the idea that they flipped it afterwards?
No, because like that's because I actually think it would have done worse if it had it to start with, because all the lead up to it was like, why are these the Avengers? Why is this the Avengers? Like that would have been like the part of the thing. Now it's this thing of like, oh, it was the secret title, and people that got to see opening weekend felt like they could be a part of the journey, and now they can go see it the following weekend, now knowing it's an Avengers movie.
Have we ever had another movie do this before, or is this the first time? Somebody mentioned like Edge of Tomorrow changed to Live, Die, Repeat afterwards, but
that was just called. Just how movies are called different things in different regions.
Right.
It's like how
somebody mentioned Birds of Prey as well, how it got changed to the whatever Misadventures of Harley Quinn.
Well, no, but like it's like how that's just a case of like different things. Like there is one movie though. I saw someone bringing it up. There is another movie where they changed the name of it, but I don't know if it was a part of the marketing plan. Like this is clearly a part of the marketing campaign where like they can change the posters and stuff, and like and the asterisk has always been there, and they're like obviously it wasn't there when they first announced the film, but obviously
no, but
like,
I think this decision was made very early in the production.
It was. Yeah, this is probably a thing you'll talk about later, but like Kevin Feige said, he really fought for this. This is something that he really wanted as a fan experience, and I think you're right, where it's like titles have changed in movies, but I don't think there's ever been a situation where a studio hid the real title for the movie, which now they're coming out and saying is actually not technically the real title. Like, it will still be called Thunderbolts on like the DVDs and stuff like that. But like, even so, it's like that is something that, honestly, I think it's arguably one of the coolest things Marvel has ever done.
I've never seen anything like this. This to me is so different and new that I don't think we can determine how it's going to affect the movie because we're not totally sure yet. And
it's risky. Like, again, like you said, like putting an Avengers movie in cinema probably would have helped it. Like, a lot of people would have lined up to it. So it's very risky for them to be like our most marketable IP, arguably of all time in like film history, right? The Avengers all made an enormous amount of money. We're not going to put that in the title. We're just not going to do it.
I also think that we have this, I don't want to say like community, maybe a sub-community online where they simultaneously want Marvel to do new things because they think that there's a fatigue, but then they also want Marvel to not do new things because they need to stick to what works.
Yeah.
It's just this cognitive dissonance argument that I'm not totally sure I understand what a lot of those people want. We also had one of the dumbest sites that I hadn't heard about in forever. Cosmic Book News. One of the dumbest sites. The guy that runs is a piece of shit, by the way.
Isn't he a pedophile?
Oh, be careful with that word. I don't know for sure, but I've heard that.
Was that another side?
I don't know.
Pedophile asterisks.
Yes. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything or allege anything because I don't know for sure. But the guy that runs it, I've seen videos on YouTube and stuff. He's kind of a piece of shit. But to tell you how little he knows about filmmaking, he goes, well, that was quick. Following the Thunderbolts flopping?
Wasn't a flop.
No. But
it's underperforming, but it's not a flop.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's underperforming because it came in between the two numbers that they expected. They said 70 to 75. The projection after the weekend was 76. It was like 74.5 or something. So unless they're going to argue that the studio projected it as a flop, that's not, like, I don't see that as being a flop. A flop is when it comes in under expectations. It came in at the top end of their expectations.
An underperforming is when it goes under expectations. So if it made like 65 or something, okay, it's slightly underperforming. If it made 40, then it's a flop. A flop to me is when it opens and there's no way that movie's ever going to make money.
And we still don't know because going into the second weekend, this movie has very positive word of mouth. So we don't.
So it's like with Morbius. Morbius, you knew from that opening weekend it wasn't going to make money, despite Eric's love for that movie.
But then he goes, Marvel is quick to change the marketing and title of the film to New Avengers. Are you a fucking idiot? You do realize that the asterisk has been there since like the second time we heard about this movie, which means they knew they were going to do this all the way back then. Do you think this is how marketing works? That all of a sudden, within a 24-hour period, they were able to redo all of this and get all these actors together to go out and rip the title off of posters for social media. They were able to do that in 24 hours time while they're still doing press and stuff for the movie that just came out. This is the kind of shit that makes my blood boil because it's okay to not like a movie, but are you this fucking stupid? And he's getting roasted in the replies.
Good.
Well, no, because I think the first piece of press thing that they revealed, which was there was that one where like Florence Pugh's the main one ripping it off. That was done like 2 weeks ago. That recorded. It was like at the London premiere or something. And I think it was at that one because the woman who plays Taskmaster, was in that video, and she only went to one premiere, and it was that first one in London.
Oh my god! Then there's a lot of dumb people in the comments that are like, oh, "This shows they're burning money." How? When it was already on the stuff that they put out.
I find it weird because I can understand if the movie was bad and people just went, "Let's just rip on it," but the movie's really good.
Because let me explain it.
Like
to
I think
because these guys only get money off of outrage clicks.
Yeah. I've seen a lot, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's totally okay, but I've definitely seen a lot of people coming out of it with being disappointed because the hype has been so big. Like people are praising it so much as like be one of the greatest of all time. So they're coming out of it being like, I didn't quite see it as the greatest of all time. And that's where some of the negativity is coming from.
From people that just didn't think it was a 10 out of 10. I mean, that's the problem.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great movie, but I don't think it's a 10 out of 10.
I don't think it's a 10 out of 10.
There's some flaws here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, like there's a few things that kept it from being a 10 for me, but I think it's one of the best Marvel movies we had in a while. And there's no disrespect to Deadpool and Wolverine. I think Deadpool and Wolverine did a fantastic job giving us exactly what they were advertising to us.
Yeah.
But this movie, as a movie, is better than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, by far.
It just is.
Yeah.
This movie actually feels somewhat rewatchable. like
I'm going back to see it again. Like I've got tickets for
tomorrow.
Tuesday. Yeah, so tomorrow, Tuesday, yeah, I've got tickets for tomorrow. So I'm going to see it again.
I'm going with a friend tomorrow, and I'm not sure if this is going to be part of your greater conversation. My only thing with this gimmick is I really hope, because I'm going with a friend who hasn't seen it yet, I really hope it's not on all the posters going into the movie, because I think
it's only one chain, isn't it? Isn't like AMC's the only one that's got the
and I think it's the big the big displays in Hollywood, New York, and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like I want him to be able to experience that moment in the cinema as the title card comes up and stuff like that. Like that's such a special thing.
I mean, these guys can't even go with like Rotten Tomatoes, which is normally their go-to. They'll pick one of the scores and like go, see, this is why it's bad. This is one of those times where the critics and the fans are very closely aligned in the quality of the movie. Fans who like something are going to rate it a little bit higher because they're fans. Critics are going to like, we've seen how harsh the critics can be on Marvel movies. We've seen it. We saw it with Captain America 4. So there would be no reason for these same critics to rank this one higher just because. So for me, I think the title change in it is, I don't think it's going to be a negative effect on the movie because a lot of people, I'll be honest, we've talked about this before, a lot of people don't pay attention to this stuff like we do. They just look at like the average stuff that comes up on their screens. We're in the fandom in a different way. So this kind of stuff is more for us than it is for anybody else, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So
there's been a conversation around this movie, though, and I haven't seen in a long time. Like, I feel like, obviously Deadpool had a conversation and Guardians did as well, but, like, I feel like the conversation around this one reminds me of the hype from a general audience I haven't seen since, like, Endgame. Like, it feels like people are excited again for the MCU in a way I have not seen in a
Well, you know why? Because it feels like they actually were willing to take a bit of a risk and change it up. Like, because it's ballsy to, like, put, like, John Walker on an Avengers team.
True.
Yeah. Ghost, a character no one really cared about, let alone liked.
Taskmaster, a character that people didn't like.
Yeah.
Actively didn't like that character.
I don't know if it's even worth really mentioning Taskmaster
so,
in this conversation.
I know. But go ahead, Darren.
There's also just that feeling of, like, connectability that I think people have been missing. Like, say what you will about these characters, but it is it's that feeling that people got in those Avengers movies of finally all these characters from these various projects coming together, feeling like the last 5 years have been worth something. It wasn't just a waste watching all these various things. It's finally not only coming together, but it's leading to something that will continue over these next year or so, which is also probably very exciting.
So I want to point out here, this is something I've been seeing show up too, is this weird framing around Thunderbolts that I don't think I quite understand. So reception to the movie has been highly positive.
Yeah.
The estimated projections for sales were 70 to 75. Obviously, Marvel knew going into it that this is what we were expecting to see. But these outlets run these really weird tweets right here, like Thunderbolts 3-day opening weekend, 76 million, which ended up being a little bit less than that, for 162.1 worldwide. It falls below the debut of the MCU movie Captain America: Brave New World, which I guess now Brave New World is good. That's what we're getting at, is that the opening weekend sales of an established IP is comparable to a brand new franchise within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that no one's ever heard of before, We've got established characters that have been in the other movies that have storylines that carry through in a movie titled Captain America. And we're surprised that this movie got this close to this. And then it goes here, Thunderbolts box office debuts below Captain America Brave New World. Why are we running this? Why is this what we're running?
Yeah. I mean, that was always going to be the case. Like, we've talked about that many times. Like you said, like, Captain America is a brand. Harrison Ford and Hulk is a much stronger brand than anything in there. But like we've said, it's going to come down to word of mouth. That box office stopped after the first weekend. Actually, we exited that opening weekend, and like we said, hey, this is great. It's doing well. It's going to make back its money, blah, blah, blah. It was that second weekend drop-off, which we are going to see. Thunderbolts, I think, will have longer legs. It's going to have that rewatchable factor. People are telling their friends to go watch this movie. Again, especially with that new name change, people are going to go see it again because of that name change.
It's so frustrating. And then I also saw that, let me see if I can find it here. There was another tweet that I got triggered by, to be honest. From Screen Rant. From 5 hours ago. We're running this again. The Joseph Quinn tweet from like 3 weeks ago. In case you missed it, we have a Marvel movie out right now in theaters that is doing really well. Doing extremely well. And you've decided that your best course of action is to regurgitate a story from 3 weeks ago that you know people received negatively while one of their best movies in a long time is running in theaters right now. Yeah. So instead of trying to help the movie do the best it can, you've decided that you, an outlet that should be out here trying to promote the best parts of Hollywood, that includes Superman, James Bond, whatever it is, that it's within your best interest to run a outrage tweet that came out 3 weeks ago, counter to the positive reception of Thunderbolts. That's what you've decided to do. So now this begs the question, what do these franchises have to do to get back to the point where they're not trying to get attacked by news outlets now? Screen Rant doesn't understand. If DC fails and Marvel fails, that's going to hurt their business. That's massive. That's a massive problem for them.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be trying to usher that in. Now, I'm not saying they don't have to hype train. Like, I'm not saying they have to jump on and shill for Marvel, but you can have the conversation around the positive reception to Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Instead, you're trying to attack Thunderbolts and attack Fantastic Four at the same time. Running this old quote that how did we miss this? Every outlet was running it for like a week. In case you missed it. What?
It's unfortunately just the current landscape of this media. Like, I do not envy the website runners and stuff like that have to write these articles and make it, because people aren't reading nowadays. There's not, so they have to get people to click.
Well, now people are reading headlines. They're not even reading the articles anymore.
No, 100%. And they have to make it interesting. They have to make it clickable. I can get that to an extent. I can get a little tiny bit of clickbait here and there. But you're right. There are a lot of things coming out of this movie I think you could talk about. There's a lot of you want to create drama, talk about the ending of the movie. There's an element of picking a side and stuff like that it could make for some very interesting articles that I feel like you could run. But it's weird to do this when there's so much to talk about coming out of Thunderbolts.
I have to go. My closing statement is it's very interesting to hear live on X that the Diddy trial is now beginning. So yeah.
Oh, that's right. It is. That's true.
Maybe that can get. I don't know. Who knows?
All right.
I know what side you're supporting, Eric.
Of course. The what is it? The baby oil side? Is that what you're saying?
Of course.
All right. So I had the Kevin Feige story open from Wall Street Journal, but now they blocked it.
Oh, really?
You have to have a subscription to read it now.
I know Discussing Film posted a couple like headlines from
it. Yeah, I wanted to read the whole article, but
yeah, that sucks. Let me see.
Yeah, that like I went through it, I reloaded it. It's like, oh, you can't read this without subscribing. Oh, great. Yeah, it's now been added to Wall Street Journal Plus. Cameron here with a $5 super chat says Screen Rants will bring up a lot of stuff that came out a few months ago. It's the like Darren was saying, it is the climate right now. It's the outrage farming. These outlets don't know how to cultivate positive outreach now, so they're doing it the easiest way possible, which is clickbaity hate content. Yeah, Silhouetted Animator. I don't want to listen to a AI voice read the article though, but thank you, I appreciate it. Let me see. Maybe there's a. I'm trying to see if there's a Twitter thread that talks about it. Okay, so let's it's in text form. I don't know how to find that then. Silhouette Animator. I don't know how to find that. Well, that's annoying now because that was the big thing I had open in another tab. Now it's gone. Let's see here. Let's do. I'm gonna try and cheese it a little bit. All right. Let's do this. You can send it to me on Twitter or Instagram. I mean, I'm on a couple different social media outlets. Let's see. Okay, so I used Twitter's Grok, and I said, "Give me all the important points from the interview with the Wall Street Journal."
Oh God.
Let me all right. Let's see. We'll do this. I hope this is right, but it looks like they've consolidated it into like a easy to read format. So let's do this. All right. Please work. We're gonna bring this up on screen. Present. Share. I copied it into a text document.
Gives you a bunch of out of context or just out of like a.
No. I mean, actually, I mean, it seems like it's got all the good stuff in it. So let's go through and see. All right. So this was from a recent interview with the Wall Street Journal with Kevin Feige, and we're gonna go through and read some of these points. Let's see here. It says here that where's it at? Oh, here it goes. Kevin Feige acknowledged that Marvel's relentless output of interconnected films and Disney Plus series has begun to overwhelm both fans and creators, making the MCU feel like homework rather than entertainment. I've heard that so much, and I hate that entire phrasing of what it is. Like, for fans, it shouldn't be homework, and I know people push back on me about this, but if you love something, you should watch it because you really enjoy it. Once it feels like homework, it's time to let it go. It's time to walk away from it.
To push back on that just a little bit, like, I think you can love, I think you can get tired of anything that you love if you have too much of it, right? Like, you can love soccer, but if you're playing soccer every day for 2 years, then you might not like it anymore. And I think there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Right, but you would walk away from it though, right? You wouldn't keep doing it if you're not happy with it.
Not necessarily. Like, sometimes maybe it's like, well, maybe I'll go down to every other day. Like, maybe too much of a thing can be overwhelming, and I think like also we're super fans, so it's like I love having a new show every 2 months or so. Like that's fun. We have stuff to talk about. If you have like a full-time job and 2 kids and you have to cook dinner, you don't have time to sometimes watch every single TV show and every movie. And like I can understand, like my entire friend groups are like, yeah, we dipped out like 5 years ago because of blah 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 blah. So like I ultimately think.
Yeah, but did you ever go back though?
Who, me? You
said you dipped out of stuff years ago, but did you ever go back to it?
Oh. I have friends that like dipped out of stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
They've left over the years.
Did they ever come back though?
For certain things, sure,
okay, so they had specific things they liked. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like I ultimately think it's smart to move back, and we'll talk more about this as we get more down this list here. But like I know it sucks because we love getting all this content to talk about, but I think ultimately for the future of everything, it is probably one of their smarter moves to maybe lessen back.
Well, I think the term homework though creates a negative aura around what they're talking about. So like I would say research, like or knowledge or something along those lines, because you're not necessarily doing homework. Like it's not the same thing. So for example, with the Marvels, we'll use the Marvels as an example because I think that's probably the one that people would say you have the most homework to do going in as like a person going to a movie for the first time. I would say you have $1 billion movie with Captain Marvel, so there's not a lot there. Your investment in that would be a 2-hour movie, if you hadn't seen it yet, to go back and watch 1 2-hour movie. The part that I think people would consider to be quote-unquote homework is watching the entire Ms. Marvel series and then watching all of WandaVision.
Right.
That would be the homework part. However, Marvel put Ms. Marvel on ABC for free for people to watch. So that was available there. So you didn't even need Disney Plus to watch that. And to be fair, if you know about Captain Marvel's past with, Monica's mother or Maria's mother, then you would know about that character. You don't need to necessarily know every single detail about the powers and stuff. I feel like they could do a good job of explaining that. I would say that the idea that things feel like homework is more like them, maybe Marvel, relying too heavily on whether or not people are paying attention to every little thing that happens in every single property. Because if you talk about if you were to tell me, okay, so a good example is did homework affect Infinity War and Endgame? Those were multi-billion-dollar movies.
Yeah.
So what does that say? I mean, because you'd have to, honestly, people that went to see that didn't watch all the Marvel movies, a lot of my friends were lost watching that.
They were.
Those are the ultimate homework movies, and they're the biggest movies that Marvel ever had.
Yeah. But I think it would have been even bigger if you didn't have to have that. Which I'm glad, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't have that movie, right? But I'm saying, I had friends that, back then wanted to go watch Endgame with us, but they're like, well, we're not going to because I haven't seen all the other ones, and I can't just go see this one, kind of thing. So it's this might be a theme that, I continue to talk about as we go through this list, because I know a lot of it kind of, intertwines with each other, but, I had the thought yesterday where it's I don't think there's a way to do a perfect cinematic universe. I think this is just going to be one of the downsides to a large universe like that, where it's not everyone is going to be invested. Sometimes you're going to be lost. Sometimes you're going to lose people. And I think that might just have to be the trade-off of what do you prefer? Less connectivity or people that fall off over the course of the time. There isn't a good solution.
I mean, luck also plays a lot of role in this too, just being in the right thing at the right time. But I would argue that if you're going to say homework was the problem, some of the biggest underperforming projects they've had have been during these last couple of phases where there wasn't a lot of connective stuff.
Right.
Like the Eternals. The Eternals didn't really connect to anything outside of what the story that was in the movie. You know what I mean? Shang-Chi. That was kind of a standalone movie too. A lot of the shows, a lot of the Disney Plus shows were shows that you could just tune in and watch those shows.
Yeah.
Now, the earlier ones like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, obviously those tied in. But then you have stuff like Moon Knight. Moon Knight had almost no connection to the MCU. You could watch Ms. Marvel, and other than the fangirling about Captain Marvel, that almost had no connection to the greater MCU.
Yeah.
So I think this, to me, sounds like Kevin Feige is saying something that he's heard other people say. Because the only movie that I think was heavily affected by this homework thing, in my opinion, is The Marvels. It's the biggest flop they've had, and it's the only one that really connects the TV shows and the movies.
I don't know if it's in this article, and if it does, I apologize. But like, I don't think he liked the TV shows at all. Like, I don't think so either. I think there's a quote in here, and I could be wrong, but like with him saying like, I never wanted to do the TV shows, but it was a studio thing that kind of made me do so.
Well, that's because he got stuck doing it when somebody else was doing it. That's the problem. When the TV shows were separate from the MCU and they had a TV division completely detached from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he didn't have to deal with the TV shows. He was just dealing. It was Bob Chapek who wanted those Disney Plus shows, and that's how he got connected.
Yeah. But like look at these shows that were kind of announced or like pushed forward after he kind of came into like Bob Iger came back and they started to fix some things up. There's Daredevil, which is a self-contained thing. You have Vision Quest, which is connected, but it's only here because it's that final installment in that trilogy. And then there's Wonder Man, which also seems very isolated to what they're doing. So it seems like, and I'll save some of this for when we get there, the TV in the Marvel world is going to look very, very different post Secret Wars.
Right.
It's going to look drastically different.
So the good thing is here, it looks like they have some quotes from like insider stuff. It says, creative burnout. Insiders say the sheer volume left staff chasing Feige for approvals in the halls, often scrambling to implement last minute changes. I believe that.
Yes.
But I think that is an unfortunate reality that Bob Chapek set up for Kevin Feige and these shows. I've said that before.
Yes.
Disney's content mandate, hunger for content. To hit Disney Plus subscriber growth targets, roughly 1.85%, Disney pushed for the rapid expansion of interconnected stories. This must be the thing where you were talking about how Kevin Feige didn't want to necessarily do the shows, that he was pushed to do them. And that makes sense to me because they needed the streaming platform to take off, because you have to remember a lot of this happened over COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was when a lot of these shows came out, was when there was no ability to go to the movies. And that's why I always yell about this fact that nobody says they watched those earlier phases of the Marvel shows. They were coming out when we were not able to go anywhere. So I find it hard to believe that people didn't tune in and watch those shows. I just find it hard to believe.
You know what's funny is if they didn't touch the shows that they had,
right,
this wouldn't have been a problem. Like if they were like, we need subscribers, we need consistent Marvel content. That's what they were doing. It was already in place. If they just let Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, if they just took what they had and put them on Disney Plus, yearly content that just never stops for like that.
And doesn't need the MCU movies to keep going. Like it can just do its own thing.
Doesn't need the budget. They were cheap shows. You just had to move them over to the streaming network.
Right.
That's all you had to do.
In a lot of ways, we've said that the TV division for Marvel was just the more expensive, polished version of the CW shows. I mean, that's really what it was. No shade, that's what they were.
And it's what we're doing now. Like if you would have just like cut the middleman, just kept doing what you were doing, and obviously shows will end, but you can create new ones that can continue.
And how many characters are there in Marvel Comics at the street level that they could use in a TV show? There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's tons of them. Quantity over quality. This mandate strained Marvel's resources, leading to compressed creative timelines and uneven output. I understand that. You can see it. You can see some of the shows that they had to like rush through. Toll on the franchise, quote unquote, Marvel fatigue. Audiences and critics alike flagged fatigue as titles piled up, with continuity becoming daunting for newcomers. That was a thing that I think we could have looked back like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but that's definitely not where we are right now. There's not a lot coming out overlapping with each other. We had a whole year with like 2 projects in it. So, I mean, like if you look at last year, what did we have? We had Deadpool and Wolverine, which was not necessarily an MCU thing. We had X-Men 97, which wasn't an MCU thing. We had Agatha All Along. We had What If. Those were the 2 MCU things. So you can't tell me there's fatigue anymore. We've only had 2 movies since 2023 that were actual MCU movies.
Yeah, but I think we're going to see that this year a little bit, like coming back, which I think I think they're going to be okay because a lot of it is animated, and I think there's a lot of hype right now with Thunderbolts. But like, you have 3 movies, you have like 5 shows, and that's just on Marvel. Like, not including like Superman and some of the other like big blockbusters that are coming out on that side.
Right.
But it's very clear that is to get it out now. Like, they have been holding on to all of these projects through all of the 2020s, Marvel Zombies and What If and Spider-Man and Daredevil Born Again, all these projects they've been working on for like 3, 4, 5 years. Now they're just like, get it out of here, clean slate, for we can start over next year.
When we get through all of this, I have a very specific, maybe mild, warm take about what I think the problem is, and I think most of this is not it. But I'm going to throw my magic into the ring and tell you what I think is going on, but we'll get there. Box office disappointments. High-profile underperformers such as the Marvels, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania underscored the downturn. I would say for me, this one doesn't make any sense because this is actually a really good movie. I just didn't get the proper respect it deserves. The Marvels.
Didn't Ant-Man still technically do solid?
It did not flop. That's what it underperformed. It did not flop. This is technically, as of this date, this is the only Marvel flop we've ever had. Is the Marvels. This underperformed quite a bit because it was supposed to be the next beginning of the next big thing. There's issues with this, okay? I want to say, first of all, fans of Ant-Man as a character had gotten used to fun heist movies where the stakes are high but not so high. This movie should have either been one of 2 movies. It should have been Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, like a separate movie where they do another heist job and it's contained within those characters, or Quantumania, where it's Ant-Man and a few other Marvel characters fighting Kang. Those should have been the 2 options they had. What they did is the same thing they did with Thor: Love and Thunder, which is they smushed like 3 ideas together into one movie. That's the problem.
Yeah. Because
I think there's elements of Quantumania that are actually good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. It feels like it was a movie they had an idea for. They're like, we're just going to use Ant-Man because he's the character that we can throw into in this situation.
Yeah.
And that
was one of those like word of mouth things where like the fatigue was kind of hitting a lot of people, and people came out and said, "Hey, this is awful. Don't go watch this movie." And they're like, "All right, we won't." Like,
I think it's all about branding. I think they need to look at the way they're branding some of these things. Like, this should have been Captain Marvel 3 or Captain Marvel: The Marvels.
Yeah.
This should have never been Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania because that is confusing.
Yeah.
Right. It's confusing. It could have just been Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 or Ant-Man, the Wasp and Kang or something else. It didn't have to be that.
Yeah.
All right. Fewer TV shows. Marvel will drop from 4 live-action series per year to just 1 or 2 and favor more standalone stories like Daredevil Born Again. I do not have a problem with this.
This is smart. Yeah. And I think what's also very interesting to think about is that they had recently said that it is their attempt, and this could fail, this might not come true. They said they want to put a new season of Daredevil Born Again out every single March going forward.
So that means that will take up the slot of one of those shows.
So we'll most likely get Daredevil Born Again every year or every year and a half or something, and then one new Marvel show every year.
But I want to point out also that doesn't address things like the Punisher specials.
That's the next thing I was going to bring up. I think we're going to get a lot more special presentations, and we're going to get a lot more animated shows.
I'm okay with that. I like animated shows. So,
yeah. By
the way, I know some people were lukewarm on What If, but I would say that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and X-Men 97 were home runs for me.
And they had also said they're going to try and put a season of Spider-Man out every year as well.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
All right. So like, what? It's renewed up until season
3 now.
3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that's smart for like the Marvel brand in general, like to have these projects that are outside of the main MCU but still Marvel adjacent. They're similar to like the Marvel Rivals thing that's going on right now.
Right.
Like, it's good promotion outside of just the main Avengers, building up to whatever, like having these little things out there to promote for the big stories that we tell.
Yeah, that makes sense. It goes here, film output. So this doesn't make any sense to me because this is already how it's been. Film output will be pared back to 2, possibly 3 titles annually. That's almost what it's been always until COVID. It was always 2 to 3 films until COVID happened.
Yeah.
So that doesn't lean film slate. Like if it said film output, we put it paired back to 2 movies per year, I would say, yeah, that's a change. 2, but possibly 3 means that it's not going to change that much.
No.
I think we might see years where there are only 2 movies, like if it's 2 big films, like Spider-Man and an Avengers movie or something.
Yeah.
But
Marvel would not be in the place they are right now if it wasn't for the TV shows. Like, I think that's been the biggest point of contention for them. I actually think people would be still demanding more if they just stuck with those 2 to 3 a year, because there would have been so many more stories that they wouldn't have been able to tell, right? Like, I think they would have, like, I think you would have had to have made Hawkeye a movie, you would have had to make Captain America a movie, and, like, actually, to the point, I wouldn't have been shocked if they did more movies, like if they upped to, like, 4 a year or something.
Pivoting storylines and talent. So the Kang storyline was abandoned. The planned Kang-centric arc had been scrapped, in part due to both narrative complexity and Jonathan Majors' off-screen issues. I don't know if we'll ever, at least not for a long time, find out what the actual problem with that was. Was it Quantumania that caused them to change their minds? Because I would say that Jonathan Majors' character was great in Loki season 2.
I just don't think they wanted to deal with the drama. I think they wanted to start fresh. I think they want to be done with this, with this whole multiverse saga. I think they're ready to move on.
Because and again, like you look down here, the next section we're going to talk about is about the Avengers Doomsday stuff. So we'll get to that. But return to trusted collaborators. Feige is re-enlisting the Russo brothers as directors and bringing Robert Downey Jr. back. Not as Tony Stark, but as Doctor Doom for the next big crossover. And trust and believe everybody's coming back. Like, it's not just Tony Stark. They're bringing back fucking Fox-era X-Men actors. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think, like, looking ahead, it says 2 Avengers film, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, will serve as a capstone of Phase 6, consolidating threads from both films and series into a 2-part finale. I think that's it. I think, like you said, the multiverse saga has not killed the franchises, like the different movies and stuff, but I think it's become too complicated for them. Not for necessarily the fans, but for the creative side to, like, do things. It's become way too complicated. I think what we're going to see is, I'm going to use this term because I don't really know anything else that applies, a much more streamlined approach to what the MCU is and what kind of stories they tell. What I see moving forward is more films that are focused on guaranteed hits for them.
Yes.
And they're going to relegate riskier things to, like, these specials that we're going to see on Disney Plus. And if we see a character that does really well on the TV side, they will bring them into a large group film, but nothing like the Marvels.
Yeah.
Not a movie that doesn't focus. Like, we're not going to see a Daredevil movie, but we may see Daredevil in an Avengers movie. You know what I mean? That's possible. But it wouldn't be like Avengers, quote unquote, the Daredevil initiative or something like that. They're not going to do anything like that. He'll be in it, but they're not going to do that because that's a mistake they did with, like, the movie titles and stuff like that. So I think they're going to streamline it. I still stand by the fact that both of these Avengers movies are billion-dollar, possibly multi-billion-dollar movies for them.
I agreed, and I think, and I don't even know if this is a good idea, I think they're going to really carry off with these Avengers movies a lot more frequent. Yeah. And I think what Thunderbolts revealed to me was, like, oh, we are now going to have, I think, multiple films coming out every couple years with different Avenger titles. So we could have maybe 2028 is Avengers, like, it's Young Avengers, and then 2 years later, the New Avengers 2, Avengers 8, and you can do that every couple of years. And I think you're 100% right. I think the main movies we come out are going to be a bunch of event movies every couple of years, so you can keep doing your. We'll
get our Spider-Mans, we'll get those kinds of films,
Fantastic
but Doctor
Four.
Strange, things like that. But yeah,
100%.
And it says here, Thunderbolts as the bellwether. The early release of Thunderbolts, which has earned positive reviews, marks the first test of this leaner, quality-first approach. That's the point that I was trying to make. We're talking about Thunderbolts earlier. The actual sales number for Thunderbolts hit what expectations were. It wasn't one of these $300, $400 million movies. It just wasn't. I know people want to try and market as that. It was not. If anything, the movie cost maybe $250 with advertising at the most, probably. They didn't do a ton of reshoots. It seems like they did a lot of practical effects, a lot of practical stunts, things like that. I'm looking forward to that. It says, bottom line here, Marvel under Feige is shifting from a more is more mentality to carefully curated, quality-driven strategy, paring back series, refining film development, pivoting away from overly dense arcs, and doubling down on proven creative teams to reignite fan enthusiasm and restore critical goodwill. I think what we'll also see outside of this, thank goodness for Grok able to give me those talking points, because that Wall Street article being hid behind a paywall is a mess. But I think what we will see is when we get the Avenger movies, it might just be this is the big bad of this movie.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no 20 film lead up to this. Like, yeah, go ahead.
I have said this for a while. I talked about this with a friend of mine. I think they need to ditch the saga-themed big bads and go back to phase big bads.
Yeah.
Or a singular phase.
Thanos was fine for that, for what they did, but we don't need that for every phase.
No. I think Loki was so good, and I think people why is that ending so popular with people? Because it's something that they can see in the seeable future. They could be like, next year I can see this storyline continue. I don't, you have stuff like Hercules and stuff like that, whereas we still have not seen where that went. And I think people want to be like, okay, next year I can see where this leads. And I think having a 5-year plan instead of or even a 3-year plan instead of a 10-year plan would be very, very smart.
Yeah, I think that it would be great, because the great thing about having a singular bad guy is you can do your Avengers thing separately, and then every couple of years they all come together like the Justice League, and they stop a big worldwide threat together as a team. That's what people want to see. That's what I think fans will go out to theaters for. This idea that everything has to be a building block on top of a building block on top of a building block on top of a building block, that whole concept, I think, is what they're trying to get away from.
Yeah.
So, Naruto here with a $2 super chat says, I think the MCU will revisit Kang eventually. Maybe. I mean, they may come back to Kang down the road. I don't think it's out of the question. I think the issue is that if you think about what the Kang saga was setting up, let's just step away for a second and just look at this from an outsider perspective. Multiple unlimited versions of the same character, where you saw one of the most ruthless versions get defeated by Ant-Man. That was, I think, a big mistake. I think that Kang should have gotten away. I think that should have been the main Kang, because nobody got connected to that character, because there is so many variants of Kang, which is great from a comic book standpoint, but I think for a narrative standpoint in films, it makes it very complicated. Because Thanos was Thanos. That was the same character we dealt with, and the only time we got another version of Thanos was at the end of the saga.
Yeah, and I think there was I think the whole I think Kang probably was supposed to win in that movie, and someone, if it was Feige or someone's hey, they have to get out, and thank God they ultimately did. Can you imagine if they ended Ant-Man 3, and Kang and Hope are trapped there, and then they scrap the Kang storyline?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Crazy. Yeah, no, absolutely.
What do you do? They're just gone.
Absolutely. Anyway, so I think the Kevin Feige stuff is being misunderstood by a lot of people as a negative. This is a net positive.
This is all positive stuff. Yeah.
The only negative that I took away from it was the term homework, and that's because I see the term homework as a negative. But I don't think that was the intention of what his statement was. I think it was just the phrasing brings back all of the negative stuff we have here on YouTube with people that talk about this. And
no, this is all very vindicating to me, because this feels like a lot of stuff I've been saying, which was why the issues with the MCU for the last 3 or so years, and people I don't like it. I was yes, but I think it's because of this thing. It's because of the COVID, and it's because of the stuff after Endgame. It's because of the Bob Chapek stuff, and I don't know. Again, Bob Iger's not my favorite guy. He's done some things I have not liked. But ever since he's come back, I feel like there's been a different vibe. There's been a different tone. And, I feel like, with what we've seen from Thunderbolts already, that was such a fantastic movie. The changes to Daredevil, what we've seen of Fantastic Four looks incredible. For the first time in a while, there feels like there's a genuine direction that we're heading towards.
And I want to say this, outside of the drama surrounding Captain America Brave New World, because there was a lot of drama surrounding that movie, there wasn't any drama surrounding Thunderbolts. We're getting a lot of positive feelings about this movie. And there's not a lot of drama surrounding Fantastic Four, which is good.
No, once they actually started production, once they actually got it like ready and like got it rolling, it was good. Which is why I'm excited for them to try Blade again, because I think like I know there's a lot of jokes surrounding that movie, but we have never seen a Blade under the Bob Iger, the like new Bob Iger role, and like
right.
Like I think like I actually think we're going to hear some news about that very soon, because like not to jump into like what's after Secret Wars, but I actually think Blade would be a very smart like first project of Phase 7.
I think it's so the exciting thing for me, and this is one of the things to vote on for the poll, which by the way, the poll's up, you guys, in the chat. The exciting thing for me, and it's winning right now, is MCU upcoming hype discussion. I would love to just have a bonus stream where we talk about everything that could possibly happen, all the different twists and turns that could happen with the MCU post Secret War or Secret Wars. Because I think it's almost limitless on what they could do after they wrap up all of the loose ends that we have right now.
I think we're going to actually learn sooner than people think of like what fate, because like they're going to because there's a movie slated for after Secret Wars in 2027. So sometime this year, I actually would not be so like shocked if we get maybe a somewhat, not a full roster, because that's how we got into the trouble in the first place. Maybe like the first 3 projects of Phase 7 or something.
Yeah, that's possible. All right, so I want to follow up. We talked a little bit. I don't remember if you were here or not, Darren. We talked about the J.K. Rowling Harry Potter like
I think so.
drama or whatever. So the actor that plays Snape had some comments supporting diversity. I think he's made several comments. The most recent one was about solidarity with the gay and trans community. And it seems like that was something that J.K. Rowling was trying to get away from, because all the people that worked with her, or at least all the main actors that worked with her on the movies, were completely opposite of her opinion about diversity and trans rights and things like that. So she had this comment here, and I just wanted to bring it up because I think it's really interesting to sort of read between the lines of this, which I love doing. Which, by the way, are you going to watch the Harry Potter show?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't even finished the movies. I never watched the final movie. Not a huge Harry Potter guy.
Me either. So
I'll be honest, like this might be one of them that I might secretly sail the 7 seas for if I do end up doing it, because like I don't know, like I know there's a lot of hard workers and stuff like that, but there is still the little part of me that like putting
I will never make someone feel bad about their decision to boycott something. So
yeah, because like we talked about it the other day where it's like that ultimately doesn't do anything, and ultimately like normally I don't do that kind of stuff, but also like any pennies in her pocket probably isn't my favorite.
Absolutely. I feel I had a discussion with a friend of mine. We talked about this, and I know that it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, because even if you like, we'll use Chick-fil-A as an example, right? So Chick-fil-A,
yeah,
a lot of my friends have boycotted Chick-fil-A since I was a kid, like since the 90s.
Yeah.
And Chick-fil-A is still massively successful and massively popular. It's one of the biggest fast food chains in the country. So if you choose not to support Chick-fil-A, you would do so because you feel morally against it. Like you don't believe in whatever they believe in ethically. But my point is they're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not going to go away. And that's the same thing with J.K. Rowling. I don't think she will ever know financial ruin. I just don't think she will. So you make the choice not to support something. You do it based on how you feel personally, ethically. Like have you decided that I'm not going to give this person money because I don't like what they stand for? That's totally your right. I've always said anyone under any circumstance can choose not to support something, right?
Right.
So that's how I feel about boycotting, just to reiterate that. But here, she says, I don't have the power to sack an actor from the series, and I wouldn't exercise it if I did. I don't know if I believe that. I do know that most of the people involved with this, because of what was said recently, they're in like 8-year contracts. So I think to fire someone after they have been locked into an 8-year contract would be very expensive and possibly a legal issue, which is why the second part of this statement is, I don't believe in taking away people's jobs or livelihoods because they hold legally protected beliefs that differ from mine. That is the reality of it. I think she would not fire him, not because she thinks he should have freedom of speech and freedom of expression. She wouldn't do it because legally she can't do it.
Yeah. But she would also never hire him, right? Like, True. If she was in charge of that part, she's not saying that I would give him a chance. I would let him. She's saying, I'm not taking actual action right now because I literally cannot.
I believe if there was a way for her to prevent him from being on the show before all of this drama came out, if she knew this is how we felt, she would have never allowed it to happen. Because she has a lot of creative control over the show. I'm not saying that she makes every decision, but clearly Warner Brothers wants to work with her because she is connected to the show. So there's that, right? I think, honestly, the line says, I wouldn't exercise it if I did. But then she follows it up by saying legally protected beliefs. So I don't know which one of those statements are true because you can't have both of them. If you believe that someone can only express their opinion about something if it's a legally protected belief, then that doesn't give me confidence that you wouldn't fire someone otherwise because you're worried about the legal ramifications of it and the payout on the contract. So not only would you have to pay out the contract on this person after this happened, but you'd have all the bad press for it, and you'd probably end up in court. Yeah. Which means they'd make more money off of you. So she's in a no-win scenario here. So clearly, that's why she's making this statement.
Yeah. And, like, I feel like Warner Brothers is so tired of being connected with this woman. Like, I feel like they don't want anything to do with her either, because they've hurt them nothing but pain, right, in terms of, like, everything. But it's like, if we want this franchise at all, we literally have to have her connected to it, which is a shame because, like, we talked about how many great people are within the, like, Harry Potter community, and you know, that fandom is so open and so positive, and, like, they love including others, and, you know, they're so diverse, and, like,
it's honestly one of the biggest, from what I've seen, because I've been to Universal Studios many times. It's one of the few fandoms that transcends ages. Like, you have kids that are like 5 years old that love it, and adults that are 50 years old that love it. Like, it's one of those weird things where everybody can love it and be a part of it, and it's just connected to such a negative person.
It's you know, it's a franchise that has so many different, like, monster-y things and creatures, and it's like, these things are great, but those damn queers, I don't think so.
It's really weird. Especially when she retroactively made Dumbledore gay. Like, so weird. All right, we have a super chat from Cameron here, $5 super chat. Supposedly Scott died, or Scott and Hope stuck in the quantum realm and Kane go free in the original ending of Ant-Man. Yeah, and I heard that before as well. I don't know why they didn't try something else. I think defeating that version of Kang really sort of... I mean, did they test this out with audiences before to find out if that ending was good or bad? Because I feel like if you tested audiences, they probably would have been like, we can't see the big bad of this next entire, like, phase. Or next 2 or 3 phases. We can't see him get defeated his first time versus a giant ant.
I think this movie was a big one under the, like, Kevin Feige was tired, worn out, and was just doing stuff. Like, he was too stretched thin. I think this is one of them where I bet he kind of looked at it and was like, that's good enough, put it out, whatever. Right. Because I think it was probably a conversation about leaving, like, getting them stuck. But that's also how Ant-Man 2 ends as well, is Scott getting Scott getting stuck in, like, the quantum realm as well, right? So it's like, do you want to do that again? Do you want to end that the same exact way you ended 2? Probably not. But it's like, what else do you do in that situation? It's tough.
All right, so because I want to end on a really positive note, we're going to go ahead and talk about the next sort of, I don't know, annoying bit of news. I don't typically like to dive too heavy into the quote-unquote politics of stuff on the Nerdcast. I like to keep it more about entertainment. But this next thing is entertainment, so I have to talk about it. But I want to point out the idiocy of it while we talk about it. So I just need you guys to understand that I would normally never discuss this, and if Paige was here, he'd be so happy discussing this. But we will, we're going to get through this, and I'm going to explain why it's so dumb while we talk about it. Before we do that, we do have a super chat from Naruto. $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Have you watched the latest episode of Doctor Who? When did the latest episode come out? I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen it. No, I have not. I've been busy since Saturday, so I have not seen it. So no spoilers about it. I have not seen it.
So he dies.
No, my issue is that I'm not too excited with this season that we have right now, but I'm trying to get through it. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it for some reason. I loved last season. I'm just not, for some reason, this season is not.
I think I'm enjoying this season more. Like, I think
Really? What's
like,
cool?
I didn't like the first episode of the season, but I think 2, 3, and 4 have been, like, really strong, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, so this is me bringing in, as Paige would say, politics into the stream, but it's about entertainment, and it's a dumb take.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to point out what we may be looking at with this, because there's not a lot that can actually be done. But so I want you guys to understand this is uncharted territory, right? So Trump said, the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. I'm going to break this down line for line. Let's just read through it one time. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and, therefore, a national security threat.
Jesus Christ.
It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. This is such a broad stroke statement. It just doesn't even make any sense. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America, again. I mean, okay, so let's start out with the beginning. The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. The movie industry has been suffering, and there's a lot of reasons why, but none of the things he's talking about in this are the reason why. There's issues with the film industry. It's been devastated by a pandemic. It's been devastated by strikes. It's been devastated by a change in people going to theaters and spending money because of streaming services. There's a lot of reasons why it's changed. Yeah. But he doesn't mention any of that in this post.
And this will hurt it way more. Like, if this goes through, this will hurt it way more than like a COVID.
But see, that's the thing is, I don't think there's any way to make this work based on the phrasing that he uses. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. I'll get to it. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. So the next statement should be, we are going to start offering other countries incentives to come and film in the United States.
Here, yeah.
That should be the next thing you say, because then you are saying, hey, we are going to take your filmmakers away and bring them to Hollywood by offering them some sort of bonus for coming here. But that would mean being a good person who wants to actually help the industry.
Yeah.
Because the reason why the industry does what it does now is because there's international opportunities for these movies and films to be made. He doesn't even understand that half of this stuff couldn't be made in this country simply because of the fact it is too expensive to make stuff here sometimes. That's the problem. Yeah. But that's not even a solution in his world.
No.
The economic benefit for us from offering incentives for people to come here and film is helping things like businesses. It helps things like restaurants and catering and things like that. There's other businesses in the country that would have a huge financial boom if we brought filming to the United States with incentives, for reasons for them to come here. Okay, so it goes on to say, Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? In the context of this, what does that fucking mean? I have no idea. He goes, this is a concerted effort by other nations and, therefore, a national security threat. By offering incentives for them to go make their movies in other places? movies that they're making, TV shows that they're making, he does realize that the Lifetime network that makes nothing but Christian propaganda movies is filmed in Canada. So is that the national security threat? There's too much Christian programming coming out of Canada? I mean, is that what he's talking about? Because other than that, I don't know what else he could mean. It goes on, therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce, which, by the way, that has nothing to do with filming in different places, and the United States Trade Representative, which has nothing to do with filming in other places, to immediately begin the process of instituting 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. You can't tariff services. Tariffs are for goods. They're for goods trade. So, like, if are you tariffing the boxes that the DVDs are being shipped in? Are you tariffing the containers that these movies are coming over in? Like, what are you tariffing? You can't tariff services. That would be like saying, I'm telling Darren that Darren as a citizen cannot take a job in another country because any work that he brings back with him that he's done, whether it be writing a script or filming a scene in Australia, somehow you're going to determine how to place a value or a tariff on that. No. How do you do that? How do you do that? The only thing that he could try and do is try and tariff the tax rebates.
Yeah.
But that's still a service. It's not a goods, which means you can't even really tariff that. So what is he going to do? Tariff cameras and lights that are being sold from one country to another? He's going to tariff a movie that's playing on Netflix? How do you tariff these things?
Yeah.
And then I listen to people from his administration get on TV, talk about tariffing Hollywood. It doesn't make any sense. Like, out of all of the dumb things that's being said, there's no way to tariff services. That's like the actual definition of tariff specifically says goods. Like, the only way to counteract all this is to just offer incentives to other countries to come here. That's the only way. You can't tariff, you cannot compel someone who is offering a service to do it because of a tariff.
It's so silly. It's so, like, I see this and, like, I'm not going to get political here, or not more political than we already are, I guess, but, like, I see tweets like this from him and I'm like, all right, we'll see if that anything happens from that. Because I read this and, like, you're breaking it down even more than I have even begun to, look at. And it's like, yeah, like, this seems like one of those things that he's talking out of his ass. He's saying he's going to do this thing. And I think you're right to a point where I think a lot of this is him wanting to control the narrative in Hollywood. I think. Right,
but that would also, see, this is why when people talk about him playing like 5D chess or whatever, I have to explain to you guys, if this is the way he sees Hollywood, if he thinks he can tariff services, there's no second step to this. This is what I call bathroom shit. Like, you're sitting on the toilet and you're typing out something that's just going through your mind at that time. This will 100% end up in court for years. If he tries to tariff studios on services, it will end up in court and it will get struck down because there are no physical goods being transported from one country to another.
Yeah. It's also so funny because I've seen some people like, oh yeah, he's trying to save Hollywood. Why would he give a shit about Hollywood? Why would we want him to give a shit about Hollywood when he's running a country?
But the
focus on that,
right? If you want a job, we have a job for you. It's called being the fucking president. Like, this is the biggest thing on your list right now? You got all this other stuff going on, and the biggest thing on your list is to create a way to tariff services.
It's fixing movies, because that's what we really need from him.
All this is going to do is drive people out of the United States. Because they're going to go to other countries and say, like, if Marvel wanted to, they could say, you know what? We're going to make all of our movies in Australia. We're going to film everything in Australia. And then we're just going to do everything digital. So we're not shipping in any actual films. Everything will be done digital. And then the tariffs won't affect us.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Because he can't even show what propaganda is, messaging and propaganda of what? If it's American filmmakers making movies in other countries, then it's our propaganda.
Yeah. And that's the thing when I hear this, and like I don't notice it because like I'm from America, but there is so much focus on America in Hollywood and just like movies all over the world.
Yeah,
so much of it. It is mainly America propaganda everywhere else. Like they're watching our movies, so it's so weird to be like.
We just made a movie called Captain America this year.
Yeah,
literally just this year.
And I mean, Thunderbolts is about the like U.S. government and like how it corrupts. Like you have Born Again, which is about U.S. politics. Like that list goes on and on and on. The issue for him is it's anti what he stands for. You know,
right.
like it's anti what he deems to be the right messages.
Yeah, there's actually a clip. I'm not going to watch it because my blood is already boiling from John Voight talking dumb shit.
Oh, God.
It says here, right, box office dominance. U.S. films dominate global box offices, often making more money abroad than domestically. In markets like China, meaning we are making money from China in most of the movies that we're making. Also, like you said, there's an American-centric worldview in these films. And we get some benefit and influence in other countries by filming and bringing commerce there that ends up helping us. So if you go and you film, this is so stupid. If you go and you film a movie in Vancouver and you get a discount on the production cost of the movie, and then you come back to Hollywood and the movie ends up being a $2 billion movie that you got a $50 million tax cut from Vancouver, you want to take away all of the profit from that to make up for like a $50 million tax cut on a $2 billion movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
I can't wait for The Boys season 5.
Yeah. Because
right. You know this is a plot line. You guarantee it.
All right, we got a couple super chats. Let's jump out of that for a second because I can't take it. I can't take that shit. All right, we got a $5 super chat from Cameron here, and then we'll check the poll and see what you guys ended up picking. I heard some rumors that Kang was a one and done villain because of Jonathan Majors' performance. Marvel just made Kang the big bad of the multiverse saga. I think that's all just rumors. I clearly they were, because like the big Avenger movies were focused around Kang. So I feel like they had already decided at that point they wanted to use him as the big bad. I think he had like, what, a 5-film contract or something like that? It was like a 5 or 6 film contract. Yeah. Plus he was in Loki season 2. If they wanted him to be like one and done, they wouldn't have put him in Loki season 2. I think that they had intended for Kang to be the big character. And to be fair, I think Kang would have made a really cool, like, main villain for all the phases. They just dropped the ball on it. They just dropped the ball on making it work.
I'm still like not out of the question that he might still appear in Secret Wars as like a different actor, but they didn't want him to be the focus because they didn't want that to be what everyone was talking about going into their biggest franchise. Absolutely.
I honestly think we would have seen even more flops if we were leading up to more stuff with Jonathan Majors with all that negativity around him. And again, I've said before, it's unfortunate because I don't know what to believe. That story has so many different twists and turns, and he was found innocent of some stuff, guilty of some stuff. Like I don't even know. It's just the whole thing is a mess.
It's very clear that they just want to wrap this era of Marvel up. And I don't know if you saw the private chat I sent you a while ago, like what's coming next for them. That's another part of the Kevin Feige interview thingy, I think. But the
10-year plan. Yeah, I clicked on that. That's that article that won't let me look at it without paying for it. Yeah. Well, like subscribe to continue.
Gotcha. I mean, we don't have to click on the actual article, but like I did at least want to talk about that because like there's a lot of talks about like, will the MCU reboot or when blah blah blah, and I feel like an article like that, if there's at least a plan for the next 10 years, that means Kevin Feige's not going anywhere.
No, and And I think that they are waiting to see what's going to happen with these Avengers movies. If these Avengers movies end up being multi-billion-dollar movies, we have the X-Men around the corner. If Fantastic Four does well, there's a lot of variables on the table. And I think it's almost impossible for the Avengers movies to be flops. Especially with Robert Downey Jr. coming back. As much as we hate the thing about him being Doom, I think with him coming back, I think it's almost impossible for those movies to flop because of that reason. I think Chris Evans will be coming back, obviously. I think we're going to see a lot of characters we haven't seen in a while. I think the only person who I believe is not coming back is the Scarlet Witch. I do think that Wanda's, the one we knew previously, will not show up. It doesn't mean we won't get a recast, younger version of her. But, yeah, I don't know. What do you think though? Another 10-year plan. So we're talking like 2036 at this point. With Marvel stuff. I would say if we do at least 2 movies a year, that's 20 movies. Possibly more if we say every other year is 3 movies. We're talking about like 25, 26 films over the next 10 years.
We just hit, and if you're not counting second seasons, and if you're not counting the like Netflix shows, we just hit 50 Marvel projects, like MCU projects, Marvel Studios projects. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. That's like unprecedented. Nothing has even come close to that in the Hollywood sphere, and now we're talking about the next 10 years. I'm curious how they handle the X-Men, because there's a lot of room to cover. There's a lot of ground to cover. How much, like, you may say like 10 years, it's a lot, but like, it's not going to be just X-Men content. It's going to be Spider-Man and Avengers and Doctor Stranges and Black Panthers as well, on top of the X-Men and the Fantastic Fours. And so I'm curious how they, like, how much of the X-Men saga will actually be about the X-Men is what I'd be curious about.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. We are at 18 super chats. I'll make a deal with you guys. If we get 2 more super chats of any level, I will do the top 2 stuff on the poll, because you guys have been amazing. So 2 more super chats of any level within the next like 15 minutes, and we'll do the top 2 on the poll. All right. We're going to hear with a $5 super chat. What happens when people are making a movie that requires overseas filming because it's a history or war movie? They haven't thought. Like, you're thinking more about it than they've thought about it. Like, I don't think they've even thought about that. They would say just use CGI or use AI or film it somewhere in the United States that looks like somewhere else. You want to film like a Japanese movie? Oh, guess what? Can't do it. You want to film something that requires you to be at the Great Wall of China? Too bad. You just got to use fucking images of it. Which, by the way, let's just fall down the rabbit hole quickly before we move on from this. But what if China was like, you can't use the Great Wall of China anymore because we're going to say it's a trademark violation or something like that, cultural violation or something. Like, there's stuff they could do to like make it. Hollywood will like. I don't want to fall down this rabbit hole again, but Hollywood will not benefit from these quote unquote tariffs, which they would end up being embargoes. They wouldn't be tariffs because you can't tariff services. So, all right, Cameron with the $2 super chat. Have you seen the new main continuity Riddler redesign? I have not. I saw your super chat pop up. I was trying to find it, but I didn't. So let's see where we're at with the Riddler. I'm gonna assume that this is it. Let me pull this up on stream and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. Maybe not. This might be Absolute Riddler. I'm not sure. Hold on. All right. Yeah, I think this is it. Are you ready for this, Darren?
Uh-oh.
Have you not seen it yet?
I'm out of the loop in terms of comics and stuff like that.
This is the redesign for the Riddler.
Oh, God. He's buff.
He looks like he could fight and stuff. Like, that's not really the Riddler that I... Is this right, Cameron? Is this the right one? Anybody?
Is this alternate universe or whatever?
What's the main continuity now? It's the new, like, rebooted
Jesus.
DC, so... Let me know if this is right or not, because this is very interesting. So I'm guessing it's like a green, but he's in like a room with like a blue light, so it's probably not totally the right color or right shade or whatever. So one of the things I love about I'm willing to see what they do with it, but one of the things I loved about DC's Batman villains is they didn't have to be brawlers or fighters. They could be tricksters or really smart people, or villains that bring a little something different to the table. I don't know if I appreciate a Riddler that looks like he could literally knock Batman out with one punch. Because then what's the point of the riddling part of it? Like, why are you telling riddles if you can just fight? Like, I don't understand that.
Agreed. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the Riddler was always kind of a bit of like an incel, and that's kind of like
right.
Like, one of the fun parts of like what the Batman did was like they fully committed into that. But like if it's like a new take on the character, like I'm never against a new take on a character that's been around for 50 years or whatever.
Yeah. I'm not giving it a complete poo-poo like I hate it, but it's not really what I would think of when I think of the Riddler. So 3Dub came through with 1 super chat, 2 super chat. So we hit 20, which means that I am going to go ahead and do the top 2 on the poll. I think we covered everything. Let me double check. I think we got through most of it today. Let's see. Was there anything else? All American had a season 7 finale cliffhanger. Apparently. I don't know why I bookmarked that. I thought like if Lance showed up, he might want to talk about it. Because I know he watches All American. I don't watch All American. Do you watch All American anymore?
Mm-mm.
I stopped after like the 2nd season. Let's see. Anything else here? Scroll. I think we got it all. I think we got through everything. I did see the concept art for Stephen Yeun's Sentry.
Yeah.
I probably would have enjoyed him as the Sentry, but let's just focus on the fact that we got a really good version. So, wait, hold on. I did want to talk about this very briefly. So here we go. David Zaslav once again bets big they can show the world that the DC IP can have real value. Superman is the first movie that will set the tone. They have a tremendous amount riding on it. So he's still saying this in interviews. I'm a little bit nervous because we know there's a couple other things that they're in pre-production, but we also know they haven't really, like Sergeant Rock, I think said was quietly canceled. I don't know if you saw that or not.
It wasn't canceled, it was paused, which could mean canceled, right? But like there was a lot of those clickbait articles being like, it's done, it's like, well, no, that's not technically what
I would think the issue with that though is even though it's not really my bag when I think of movies or whatever, it's probably the cheapest one they could make. Like, why would you pause that one? Like that one you can get done quickly, like maybe a couple months of filming and then it's out. Like
there is some I think from what I read, there is some like behind the scenes script stuff and like director stuff that didn't line up exactly what they liked. Which like I appreciate them doing that now instead of like what they did with Blade, which was like 4 or 5 years of like, I don't know, maybe someday, right? But it isn't a good look for DC right now when like they promised a more consistent, and
they immediately push something on the back burner after they've announced it.
I mean, they've done that a bunch of times now. Like, where's Waller? Where's the authorities and stuff like that? So,
I am look at the source puck. Yeah, I know. I saw that. I just want to say that I want Superman to do really well. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful for all of our favorite movies this year. I want them all to do really well. But I don't like the idea that so much is riding on this movie and this movie alone. That doesn't bode well for me when it comes to thoughts on all of that. But anyway,
I'm excited for honestly this movie to just be out because like there's a tiny part of me that's just kind of tired of that conversation just a little bit because it feels like everyone I know is like Superman has to do well. It has to do well. It has to do well.
I mean, it's like what 2 months out now before it comes out.
Yeah. I think it will be good. I think it's gonna do fine. Do we know the budget yet? Is it?
Let me double check. Hold on.
Is that the 200?
Let me see. What is the budget for
Because, like, I think if... I was going to say if, like, Thunderbolts can do decently well, then Superman can, but less competition now than Thunderbolts, I guess.
Ooh. They're putting it up there around 200 million. So it's not a cheap film. 200 million is that like that point where it's like, does it have to be this much? You know what I mean? Like, does it have to be 200 million?
I mean, I prefer Superman to be 200 million than like Thunderbolts, where like I see that and I'm like, why was Thunderbolts 200 million? Yeah.
I don't know. We got a couple super chats here, and I think they're both about the same thing. So I'm gonna pull them up here. So Naruto with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Naruto. Says, did you see Grant Gustin's comments on the season of The Flash? Thank you for the super chat. And then Cameron here says, to all the super chats, have you seen Grant talking about the forces? Did you see this, Darren?
Uh-huh.
So is it like a quote on Twitter, or is it a video?
Yeah, I can send you a link here really quickly. No, but like the like gist of it was basically like I didn't like the Force storyline. I thought it was sucked. I sat there wondering why.
Really? He said that?
Storyline. Yeah, he was kind of shitting on season 7.
Oh my god, Eric Wallace is like, what is Eric? Hold on, I'm going to find out what is it? What? Hold on. What is?
I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. I'm trying to find the. There was a couple quotes he had said, like I hadn't like the one that wasn't surfacing as much, but he also talked another thing about like James Gunn's James Gunn's DCU and how he'd like to be involved, and another one of those kind of things. Yeah. Like, oh boy. Here, I shared that in the private chat.
Okay, I got it. All right, let's share this. Is it just the tweet here? Has that got everything we need in it?
Yeah, it should.
All right, so it says, Grant Gustin says he didn't like the Forces storyline in The Flash season 4, calling the Forces my children. I tried to talk them out of that. It's so good to know I'm vindicated all these years later. I said that was one of my least favorite parts of that season.
Oh, it's so bad.
And then he goes on to say he didn't like the Godspeed lightsaber fight too. I was like, can we do this now? Really? We can do this now? Really? Again, another complaint of mine. Look, I think it really played well for the trendiness of like sharing clips online. But outside of that, I thought like, why? Why are these speedsters fighting with lightsabers? It just didn't make a lot of sense. That's actually really funny.
It also shows that like Grant Gustin's always kind of been one of us. Like he's been such a massive fan of the show and the fans, and it's like, man, like I it's too bad that this wasn't one of those shows where he could have maybe got upgraded to a like maybe a producer or something on the show, someone who has a bit more say in what goes on. I'd love like a maybe like in 5-6 years, maybe like a movie or something that's maybe not written by him, but maybe it's like a pitch by him or something, because he seems to love that show.
All right, so let's see what you guys picked in the poll. We're going to do the top 2. So we're going to end the poll now. See what we got. All right, so actually the 2 that I really hoped that would win won. So we have a DCU upcoming hype discussion and a MCU upcoming hype discussion. So we can literally put that into the same stream. We can talk about both of those things in the same stream. So let me make sure I write that into my list of stuff. Let's see. Google Documents. And with that being said, though, I think we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you for showing all the love with the super chats. I do appreciate it. We have one more. All right. From Cameron, $2 super chat. Grant also talked about the series finale. Did you see that?
I did, but it was kind of more stuff we already knew. Like he talked about having a scene with Savitar, and because of COVID, because of he had COVID, there's stuff he couldn't do. Hold on, let me see if I can find the exact.
Okay.
But it was kind of like stuff we had already heard about, like why Grant was missing so much in the final episode and stuff like that. There's a lot of like interview stuff from the con this week.
Oh, okay. 3Dub says this quiz is completed, so there we go.
Oh boy. Okay, here's a quote. Grant Gustin on who won the Flash between Supergirl and the Flash. I don't know. There was no real answer to that. I guess I did. All right.
Well, yours truly says you can find a recording of the panel on YouTube, so it could be for another stream. Yeah, we can do that on Thursday.
Okay.
We could watch it on Thursday if you want. We got time. Anyway, Liverpool Comic Con. Okay, thanks. With that being said, we're out of here, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you so much for all the super chats and hanging out. And we will see everyone again on Thursday. Take care. Bye.